This video, we're going to make a dice roller, and this is a little bit more complex than what we've been doing here. So we've got different type of dice, and these would be like a D4, a D6, a D8. And in case you're wondering what this means, it's a 6-sided dice, a 4-sided dice, 8-sided, so on and so on. So we've just got a label and a spin box, and we can say I want 1 D4, 2 D8, and 3 D12s. Go ahead and calculate, and it's going to be 28. So it's going to roll the dice every time we hit calculate. Very, very cool. All right, so let's jump in here. We want to build a few files first off. We're going to build this in a list view. So we're going to build a dice model and a dice delegate. Add new. Let's go in here. So there's our dice delegate. And we've got our 3 files. So first off, our model. Model is going to be a list model. And I'm going to do the first one just so you can see. Let's call this ID dice model. We're going to do the list element. And we're going to have a name, a number, and a value. So the name is, in this case, going to be a D4. So this is a 4-sided dice. The number is just going to be how many sides, or the multiplier, are on that dice. And let's go ahead and add a value. Just for giggles. And I'm going to grab the rest of this off the screen. That way you don't have to sit here and watch me type this whole model out here. So we got D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and a D20. If you ever play any tabletop games, you know that D20 is like the granddaddy of them all. Boom, D20s. All right, delegate. This is going to determine how this thing is actually rendered out on the screen here. So import cute quick. Actually, cute quick. There we go. Controls. Grab whatever version of controls you're working with here. And let me bring up the example again. So what we're doing here is this delegate. So each item, we're going to determine how this is drawn. And we just got a giant label with a spin box. That's pretty much all there is to that. So let's go ahead and do a component. Dice delegate. And let's go ahead and add an item in here. And let's call this item, the ever descriptive item name. Anchors, left margin, 10, width. Let's say the parent.width. Height, I want this to be fairly high. If we look at the example here, there's some spacing here. So I want to actually make that 100, which is fairly high. All right, let's go make a row now. Spacing 10, just to give a little bit of spacing. And now we want to add a label. Font bold, let's go ahead and add true. And I want to do pixel size fairly large. Let's make that 25. And text, remember, we are going to pull from the model. All right, so we got that. Now let's go ahead and do a spin box. And say ID, SB number. We want a from, let's say 0 to 100 value, and this is going to be from the model, just in case anybody gets a little confused about that. We are in very much out of beginner land and into intermediate and advanced land, so some other tutorials out there that I've looked at, they would call this super advanced QML. This is not. This is from beginners into intermediate and advanced. So all right, Now let's go with on value changed. And let's take that model dot value equals the spin box number value. And then let's go ahead and console.log the model value. I just want to see when that's actually rendered. All right, so once again, whenever you see the word delegate, we're delegating or figuring out how something is rendered on the screen. So what we're really controlling here is the rendering of these individual items from the model here. All right, let's go ahead, save that, and on to the fun bit here. What we need to do is actually build our interface. Our interface is going to be a little bit convoluted. So I'm going to jump into our designer here. I'm going to say Qt Quick Controls. And we've already got our custom QML files displaying up here. Now I want to do a column. Let's grab this guy. And let's say we want a spacing of 10. And let's go ahead and fill this parent. Ta-da! Maybe zoom out a bit. That way you can see what that looks like. Remember, control middle mouse allows you to zoom in and out. Or you could just do this guy right here. All right, now let's get our list view. Remember, when you see view, you're working with a model view. Ta-da! It's going to put that in there. And even going into advanced is not going to help us, so we are going to have to dive into the code at some point. All right, so we've got our list view. Let's go ahead and give us an ID of list view. I'm going to actually dive right in here. Ah, yes, thank you very much for being helpful. For the model here, I'm going to, actually, did I goof that up? Sometimes I get a little delete happy. Nope. That's one thing I love about the editor is it shows you where those brackets are. So I'm going to grab this whole thing and I'm going to say dice model. All right, same thing with delegate here. Ta-da. Go ahead and grab this. Say dice delegate. Makes it much easier to read than having all that in one giant file. Now I'm going to cheat just a smidge, and I'm going to grab some stuff off the screen. I'm going to say width, parent.width. I'm going to get rid of this height, but I'm going to say focus true. That way this will get mouse and keyboard input by default. And I'm actually just going to copy and paste some anchors in there. Ta-da! All right, now in here, I want to do a row. And I'm going to call this ID row. I know, descriptive ID. Width is going to be the parent width. Height is going to be 50. And we're going to anchor this bad boy. We want to anchor this to the bottom. And let's give this a bottom margin of 0. I just want to make sure there's absolutely 0 space there. All right, so inside this row, and if I pull this up so you can see what I'm doing, it's actually this guy right here. It's going to be invisible, but I want to put it right there, and then we're going to build all this interface out. So first things first, let's go ahead and get a rectangle. And let's go ahead and say anchors.fill, and we're going to fill that parent. Let's give this a color, and let's say gray. And at this point, I'm going to actually save run, see if this looks anything remotely like what we want it to be. Yes, it is. All right. So already we've got a lot of functionality baked in here, and we just need to add this in and then calculate all this out. So let's kill that. I'm going to say label. Why did you not like this? This thing's acting squirrely for some reason. Sometimes I think this editor gets a little bit confused. So I'm going to say label. Yeah, it says unknown component. What are you goofing about? Ah, that would be why. I got the wrong controls in there. Maybe the editor knew exactly what was going on and I got a little goofed up. As you can tell from some of my mistakes, this is an end-to-end video. I am doing this in real time. 0 edits. Color, and we can actually just say we want white. Text is going to be a total 0 because we got nothing in by default. I am going to actually cheat just to save a little bit of time. Copy and paste. Bang. And let's go ahead and auto indent selection. All right, now our button. Let's go ahead and grab our button. Goof that one all up. All right, text. And then I'm going to drop some anchors in here. Again, just going to copy and paste, save a smidge of time. All right, save run. Let's see what our interface looks like. Looks beautiful. Nothing happens though because we don't have the code in here yet. So what we're going to do now is when we click this calculate button, we're going to read all this stuff out of this model and then calculate some magic number here. So let's go up here and we are going to dive headfirst into JavaScript land. So fasten your seatbelts. All right, got our beautiful function. I'm going to wire it right into this. Now for the meat of this. Var model is going to be the list view dot model, and var total is going to equal 0 right off the bat. Now we need to check each dice. I should have said dice delegate, but you get it. And we'll say for var I equals 0. I is less than model dot count. And let's go with increment I. So what's going on here? Really, we're just grabbing this list model, this guy, and we're going to say for each item in the model, we're going to go through it. And now how do we do that? This is the tricky bit, and this is something a lot of folks like to not cover because it is tricky, but we're going to dive right into it. So we're going to say item model.get, and really what we're doing is we're getting a model item. So what we're doing here is we're saying, let's say this first one is 0. We're going model get 0. So it's going to go into our model and say, grab this first item. It's going to hand us this list element. All right, now once we get this, I'm going to say if item.value is greater than 0, then we need to do something with this. So I'm going to console.log name Now, where am I getting name from? You guessed it, the model. So if we go in here, we got name, number, value. So I can just grab this. All right, at this point, I'm going to save this. I want to run this. And let's take a look at our app output here. Oh, we got some stuff open here. Let's kill a lot of this stuff. Gonna start that all over. Save run. All right, app output. QML column cannot specify. Yeah, that's just something I'm gonna really ignore. That's just some of this stuff down here, these anchors that I copied and pasted in. Gonna ignore that for now. It's not really hurting our app. What I want to specifically focus on is when I click calculate, I want to make sure it's going through here. So if I click this, nothing happens. Why? Because we got to actually increment. You can see we're incrementing. Calculate. All right, good. Now we're going through. Here is D6. Sure enough, its number is 6, so it's a 6-sided dice, and its value is 2. Also, we have a D10. D10, its number is 10, and its value is 2. Pretty simple from this point forward. We can say take the number, multiply it by the value. Actually, not specifically true. We're going to do a little bit of JavaScript, and there's going to be a bit of copy and paste because I'm not a JavaScript whiz. All right, go up here. All right, now that we know that we can actually go through that model and get the individual items, roll each dice. And we're going to say for roll, actually var roll equals 0. And I want to say roll is less than the item dot value. And roll plus plus. That's one of the bad things about my neighborhood is I have noisy neighbors. I swear I just heard a car drive by. So if the microphone picked that up, I do apologize. I try my best to soundproof my little room here, but it's not the greatest. I've talked to other Udemy instructors, and they actually have like very, very expensive soundproof rooms with professional grade microphone. I can't afford any of that stuff, so I just do this very, very down to earth, just like my videos. So we have a minimum of 1, a maximum of the item's number. In case you're wondering where we're getting that number from, again, from the model. And let's go ahead and we're going to do a bit of copy paste land here. So I'm going to say var subtotal equals bang, and there's our copy and paste. This was from a previous video where we took a range. We had a range slider, and we did a minimum and a maximum, and that's how we get that. A little bit of math there. Now that we have that subtotal, we can say console.log and our roll, because I want to see the individual rolls in case whomever we're playing this board game with goes, oh, wait a minute, I don't believe that. I want to see your actual rolls. You can say subtotal, and then total equals the total plus that subtotal. Whew, that is a lot of typing. Once we're out of that little guy, we've rolled all these dice, then we can simply say console.log. There's a whole lot of console logging going on here. Total, and we want to actually display that total. That way we have a running total. Now, LBL total.text equals, you guessed it, total plus the actual value total. So quick review here. We have a model. We have a delegate that's going to determine how each item in that model is being displayed. And we've got a simple interface with a whole lot of JavaScript behind it. We could actually take this JavaScript and put it into a separate file, but I'm trying to simplify this just a bit. Save and run. Let's test this out. So I want to take 1d4 and 2d8. 15. How did we get to 15? We have all that console output to tell us. And we can do this pretty much as many times as we want. Now, I'm a big fan of criticals, so I'm going to do a few d20s, and whoa, 94 damage. Okay, I have a $1 billion idea. I am a married man, and sometimes